The construction of the refrigeration and air conditioning system. A refrigeration cycle has to have two sides. A high side and a low side. And must be able to perform four functions. Compress with a compressor. Restrict the compressor with a restrictor liquid metering device. Has to be able to create condensing with a condenser. It also has to create evaporation with an evaporator. In order to complete the refrigeration cycle, we need to connect these four major components with three more components. The additional three are we need the suction line with insulation to connect the end of the evaporators to the low side of the compressor. The discharge line to connect the high side of the compressor to the beginning of the condenser. And finally, we need to connect the end of the condenser to the beginning of the low side and the restrictor metering device. But there is no limit on how many additional components can be used in a refrigeration cycle system. So, we need these 7 minimum components to complete a basic refrigeration cycle. Let's examine the refrigeration cycle. Starting at the outlet of the flow control valve metering device. Here we find cold, low-pressure, saturated refrigerant flowing into the evaporator, soaking up heat and vaporizing as it goes. Cool, low-temperature, superheated refrigerant gas flows from the evaporator outlet and into the suction line to the compressor. The compressor pressurizes the gas, thus adding more heat, and discharges hot, high-pressured, superheated refrigerant gas into the discharge line on the way to the condenser. The hot refrigerant gas first loses its superheat and thus becomes saturated, part liquid, part vapor. Then, as it continues to give up heat, it condenses to liquid alone. Once the vapor is fully liquefied, further heat removal subcools the liquid. This subcooled liquid refrigerant then flows onto the liquid line and onto the flow control. Once in the flow control, it is forced through the restriction and abruptly emerges into an area which is kept at a low pressure level. With this sudden release of pressure, the refrigerant expands and flashes into a mixture of liquid and vapor. This cold mixture of liquid and vapor together flows into the evaporator. The cycle then repeats this sequence over and over again